I'm going to call the meeting to order. Rebecca, please call the roll.
Pam? Here. Toohill?
Yes.
Esty?
Yes.
Flournoy?
Here.
Gandy?
Yes.
Rowe?
Here.
Great, thank you. By the way, Terry will not be here. She just sent me a text. Any changes to the agenda, Council? Anybody have anything? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Approval of the minutes of the October 28, 2024 council meeting. Approval of the November 8th, 2024 payroll in the amount of $163,725.17. Approval of an employee appreciation celebration dinner for December 20th, 2024. Approval of the annual urban renewal report. Resolution of employment in the Park and Recreation Department. Approval of liquor license for the Lincoln Center. Approval of electronic payment to Iowa State Treasurer in the amount of $3,777.86. Approval of ACH payment to the Department of Revenue in the amount of $10,594.67. Approval of total claims in the amount, which is a little different than what you have, is $635,362.32. We had one claim over $75,000 to Huntington Public Capital Corporation. This is interim financing for Step 3 in the amount of $222,275.28.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Moved by Gandy. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Toohill. Any discussion?
I was curious about that annual urban renewal report. Is there a place in this report that says what our total LMI funds are, like the balance?
Should be in the financial report.
It was in, it's on the finance report.
Oh, okay.
But I thought there was a page on there, but.
Okay.
This month.
Sorry, I'm not trying to spring it on you. I just
$90,000.
I was thinking we were over 100 now.
Yeah, I thought so. It may be on the first page. 146, 323,
That
maybe?
could be very well be.
You think
yes.
that might be it? Okay. Just curious. All right, thank you.
Okay.
I did review the claims and they all seemed in order.
Okay. Any other questions? Now, please call the roll.
Gandy?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Rowe?
Yes.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Esty?
Yes.
Okay, under public appearances, we have 3 tonight. Again, I'm going to ask you to keep it to a couple, 3 minutes, if we can. Chris Sorflaten is first. He has an interest in an EPA grant. Chris?
Hi, I'm Chris Sorflaten. Great to be here again. I'm here to talk about the mulch pile. I've been going there for 15 years, collecting logs. So I'm one of the few people that takes stuff away from that pile, so that I like to think they like me there. Anyway, I take the logs, get it milled into lumber, and some examples of my lumber are at La Note nightclub and the Broth Lab building and the Bountiful Bakery. So it's a great resource. It's a huge resource. And since I've been doing that over the last 15 years, many others have started doing it, so we kind of compete for the nicer logs.
What do you build, Chris?
Huh?
What do you build?
Tabletops, wall paneling, trim, at the bar, at the Broth Lab we did, and the Noodle House, I did some of that. The vertical wood planks and the tabletops at Bountiful Bakery, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Anyone with a truck and a trailer can go there, and they take their big tractor and they pick up a log and stick it on there and make cool countertops, whatever you want to do. Anyway, John Freeberg sent me a grant from his daughter, because his daughter does environmental work in Missouri. And so he sent me the grant application, $5 million to handle solid waste problems for in any community, but it has to come from a community. So I had the idea, well, $5 million ought to be enough to keep that pile going for decades. And ideally, it would keep the pile going indefinitely. So $5 million. So I've been talking to Joe Hurd, who's the director at, you guys probably know him. I don't know if he's here tonight, but hi, Joe, if you are. Anyway, my idea was to write the grant so that it'll keep it going indefinitely, and so that the city could just hand it over to a private contractor, the whole thing. And that's what Joe Hurd expressed to me. That would be his preference, was to just keep the city out of it. The city can dump there. Anyone can dump there, and then they can turn it into products. So like mulch, people are willing to pay money for mulch. People are willing to pay money to drop mulch off. Maybe the city could pay something to drop something off there just to help keep it going. There's all kinds of other cool ideas, like instead of mulching it, turn it into wood charcoal. It's
So generally, grants have a time frame where you have to spend that money.
Yeah.
Do you know about that?
I haven't looked. So in order to look at the actual grant application, you have to fill it out from the perspective of the city. So like, so the whole process is quite urgent.
Yeah. And when is it due?
The deadline is the 15th for intent to apply.
Of November?
Yeah. So that's in 3 days. So I'm willing to volunteer for free to just help get the thing going. I'll need access to city codes and stuff like that, or I could help someone else write it or whatever. But and then the actual grant is due, I think, towards the end of December. So there's, I think, at least 6 weeks or more of time where we could actually write the grant. But it needs to be, the intent to apply is due in 3 days.
It looks like that's optional.
The intent to apply?
Optional notice of intent to apply by November 15th.
Oh.
December 20th is when the grant is due.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Great. So I guess we have plenty of time. I've written half a dozen grants or so. We've got a couple of them approved. So I'm happy to volunteer for free to write the grant. And then I had the idea to open it up to contractors. So like when you write the grants, like, okay, well, we want this and this and this done. And then contractors can bid to receive the money in exchange for doing the work. And then there would be a panel appointed by you guys to, well, who do we give the money to? Like a sealed bid or an open bid or whatever kind of bid they decided. And you look at the different contractor applications. Maybe there's a nonprofit that wants to get involved, so that, might make it more viable kind of thing.
Does the Environmental and Franchise Committee want to look at this? Like ASAP?
Yeah, we can look at it.
Okay.
I have a quick question, though.
Yep.
You're suggesting that city property be used for this business?
Yep.
So is that even allowed
Yeah.
for the city to donate property and allow a profitable business to be set up on city property?
I don't know.
Well, and let's just say the current brush pile is not on city
Yeah, it's not.
property.
Yeah.
No, that's
It's on feeder
Grow
property.
Fairfield's
Yeah, it's
property.
owned by FIDA. We rent it.
The area behind the police station used to be the city brush pile, so I don't know if that would be big enough, or if the city would be willing to kind of donate that. But the idea is like, okay, the city donates the property in exchange for dumping all the mulch they want there, all the brush they want there for free. And then the rest of the $5 million, like private contractors could buy tractors, equipment, maybe build a shed there to store the thing in, build a fence with a code kind of
So
thing.
this is the detail that's going to have to be worked out in committee.
I'd make the motion
So-
to move it to environment franchise.
Okay, there's a motion from Flournoy to move it to Environmental and Franchise. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Gandy. Any other discussion?
I do see the grants are from 2022 to 2026. So,
4 years to spend it.
yeah, 275 million or something like that in grants. where it's pretty optimistic to try to maybe get this done by December 20th, but if we can, great. And if not, there may be a second swing of this around next year still that we could be a little more prepared for.
And they are awards from 500,000 to 5 million. It's not all $5 million, correct? I guess I would also want to know, and we can talk about this in committee, whether or not we can be awarded a grant and then just kind of hand it
I
over
was kind of wondering about that too.
to some other entity, or whether, because we'd have to administer it, I imagine, so we would probably want to be in more control. Anyway.
Yeah.
just my
So I
thoughts.
think you're going to have to look deeper into it. So if there's no other questions, let's go ahead and call the roll, move it to committee.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
Esty.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. That passed unanimously. Thanks, Chris. Do
So do I need
you
to
guys
stay involved?
connect?
Okay. With-
Do you have his contact info?
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll let you know when we set up our committee meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
okay, great. Next is Faith Reeves, our EFCCG grant update.
Great, thank you. Good evening, Council. Just wanted to give you an update. Our deadline is looming. November 21st is the deadline for submission for this grant. We are very optimistic. We absolutely 100% will have the application in well before. I wish it was already in, but this is a behemoth of a grant. The team, the kitchen sink communications team, have been wonderful. They've gone above and beyond. They've written a beautiful product. They're refining it currently. We're working on that 20-page narrative, trying to prune it down to get it a little more concise. I'd say, the highlighted areas that I shared with you just a moment ago, updated for the attachment there for the action item. The narrative is, I would say, by the end of the evening, this evening may even be in that 95% complete. They're working just tirelessly. The budget looks really great. We have a few final details that we're looking to get confirmation on. The budget template, budget narrative have been submitted for review by our subject matter experts within DINA. The narrative will likely go into Indina tomorrow for review, along with the readiness plan, the community engagement, collaborative governance, and the strength plan. I anticipate we'll get those in for review before Thursday. With Indina, the compliance plan has already been reviewed. We've made some updates. We're adding some bios to it, but it is complete beyond that. Everything looks really great. It is all coming together rapidly here at the end. We anticipate, again, to have our submission, I would say, Monday, somewhere in there. Again, just super happy with Trace and Sadie, our grant writers with Kitchen Sink Communications. They've put in an immense amount of work, more than anyone anticipated. And it's been a learning process, a growth process for all of us, I'll say, for sure. It's a very, complex grant. There are a lot of moving parts. I will stand for questions.
I just wondered if the council is interested in kind of seeing a rundown of all the information for it before it gets really
Absolutely.
sent in, and if they're
How
interested in a little
in
informal
depth
meeting.
would you like to go with that?
Yeah.
I'm happy
I mean,
to share.
Not at the media, not right
course.
now, but
I
before
can
the end of the week.
I can share the sections with you so you can see them. But do you want the whole gamut, or do you want a summarized version?
Anybody have a preference?
I
You don't
prefer
have
the
to do it.
summarized version
Yeah,
myself.
but I mean, you don't have to do any extra work summarizing it. I don't.
You do?
To summarize, yes, it would be extra work to bring it down.
No, yeah, that's all right.
But
Yeah.
Sounds like you got a lot of work to do just to get it ready.
Maybe
yes.
project narrative, does that kind of
The project narrative and also the readiness plan, I think, will be a wonderful
Yeah.
partnering.
Yeah, can you get
You'll
that
see
to everybody?
And then if we want more,
If
maybe.
you want to see the budget, the 50 pages of budget,
Yeah.
you've got that. Anything you want to see, I'll
Great.
happily share all of it.
I think it would really be worthwhile for council members to read at least part of those grants applications or narratives, because I've read a lot of material. And I went through that, at least 20 pages. I could not even find one typo or one grammatical error. It was superbly written. I was really impressed with the product. So I'd like you to encourage you to take a look at it and formulate your own opinion, but
Yeah.
that's my opinion of what I read.
What part did you read?
The narrative.
The narrative, the first.
Yeah.
So we'll get that part?
Yes.
Okay, good.
You can find a typo, aren't you?
I'm not looking for it, no. I'm not looking.
Work, are you?
It's still being refined.
Okay.
I'll
Being
find it.
refined.
No, I think that would be good.
Yeah.
Send the narrative,
Yeah.
and you mentioned another section too.
The readiness, and that'll
Yeah.
give you an idea of the budget as well. Maybe
Yeah.
the budget narrative.
Yeah, great. Awesome.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Okay, Donald Frizzell, Waterworks. What? Frizzell, sorry about that. Apologize.
Has everyone had a chance to read the attachment? I don't want to just waste time going back over it unless you're not familiar with it. But in broad strokes, in October of 2018, I bought the building that used to be the glove factory outlet across from Chautauqua Park, and have just been using it for storage, with the exception of a brief period in the summer of 2019 when I was here with family, visiting other family that live here in Fairfield. And we needed some extra room for a place to sleep. Otherwise, we haven't been using water. And anyway, in February of 2020, I got a letter about the drop box. And I promptly brought it in and showed it to the ladies here at the counter. They looked for a little bit, came back and told me that it had been sent to me by mistake and to disregard it. And so I did. And 4.5 years later, I go over to the property and see that the parking lot's been dug up, and there's a bill for $875 in my mailbox over there. So it was several weeks before I found it, because I don't go over there every day, and so I brought it in. The bill on September 25th is when I came in here and showed it to them at the counter, and they said that they had been told back in 2018 by the previous owner or no, not by the previous owner, but by a plumber here in town, and I think the name was something like Dinkle or something like it. Started with a D, and I don't know the plumbers here in town, but that's what was written in the file, that the owner had told this plumber that it had a bad stop box. And, there was never any mention of that in any of the real estate stuff and again, that was supposedly happened in 2018 also. So I have a problem, first of all, with being told to disregard it, and then 4.5 years later, without any more communication about it, going over there and finding the place tore up and a bill in the mailbox, and it just doesn't seem like reasonable procedure to me by the Waterworks department. And the other thing is, the owner of that, the actual owner of that building wasn't even in Iowa anymore. They were living out of state. And why they would have called a plumber and told him that right before they sold it to me, I don't know. I really think they got me mixed up with someone else, and again, I don't know why the ladies told me to disregard it back in February of 2020.
I'm not sure either, but my understanding is you have some documentation as well, Doug.
Yeah, I after I'd read that submittal, I went back through and pulled the file, and what I did find was that there was a letter sent, the certified letter. When we send letters out to repair a piece of equipment, it's going to be by certified letter so that it is signed for and is sent back to us, and then we put that in the file.
Right.
So the letter was sent on 11/7 of 18 to the previous owner before you. Then you.
Now wait a minute. When?
11/7 of 18.
He no longer owned it.
You owned it.
I owned it.
Okay, so there's a letter that was certified,
Sent.
and I just a moment. Then you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Because I went through the file.
Right.
And then another letter was sent in 2019. The letter was sent on 12/19. Then a certified letter was sent on 2/7 of 2020 to that address, and then to the owner's address, your address, on 2/24 of 20. Then another certified letter was sent on 8 of 20. Another certified letter was sent of 6 of 21. Another certified letter was sent on 4 of 24. And then the repair was made on 9/24. And then the bill was billed on October of 24.
I've only received 2 letters. One was the one in February of 2020,
Yeah.
and the other one was just recently that they bumped the bill up another 7% while I was waiting to.
Get receipts for all these.
Yes. So I did not look at I didn't look at the signatures of the certified letters, but they were signed and returned. And so.
By who? I mean, I'd like to see the signatures.
Well, from my understanding that you came in and asked for a copy of that file, I thought. Did they not give that to you?
No.
Okay, well, we can, I'm
No,
not going to do it tonight.
In fact,
but we
what
can,
happened, one of the ladies at the counter, and the only one she mentioned was the one in February of 2020 as well.
Okay.
And a stop box wasn't working then?
No, it worked fine as far as I know, because I did come in 2019 and asked to, have the water, we wanted to use water so we could use the toilet. We were just using that as a place to sleep. It's just a shell inside. There's nothing in there but a toilet and a little sink, bathroom lavatory. And I have not received those letters. I don't know, and probably wasn't even here. I mean,
Yeah. Well, so.
And the thing that is curious, I think the one that I did get in 2020, they sent over to my, ex-wife's house, which I now own on Court Street. But that's the only one that I have any memory of ever receiving a registered letter, other than the one that I got about the bill being overdue just recently.
And I didn't look at the signatures; they were just returned to us. So somebody signed for them. Somebody did, but I didn't go.
Yeah, you said something about 2000. I wouldn't have even been here.
Right.
I think on some of those days.
So they may have signed them and ignored them. But we do. So the city
And
tries
my
not.
address at that time, I think, would have been Texas, right? You're telling me they sent those down to South Texas to me?
I didn't go through all of the addresses and signatures and stuff. I just looked to see when the certified letters were sent for that address, because we have to make every attempt. We have over 5,500 accounts, and what ends up happening is when we have a stop box that is broken, or a different piece of equipment on a piece of property, we notify that property owner is the best way that we can, because we're not private investigators. We reach out, and then what ends up happening is when we have a major issue, then we'll take a dozen. In fact, when this stop box was repaired, they sent out the entire crew, and they spent several weeks repairing a dozen of them. And they would prefer not to, because they have other things to do. But honestly, it's the property owner's responsibility to replace that when they're notified. And because if we need to service those lines, then they need to be able to go in there quickly, because we have to shut off a main, and it shuts off water to everybody else's, and it goes on and on.
Well, let me just say this. When I did have, did come in and pay the deposit and said we want to use water during the summer, they came down, and the water was already on, so when the city came down to turn it on, they turned it off. And I had to call up here And I told them they turned the water off.
Yeah.
And so they came back down and turned it back on.
Yeah.
So,
Do
from
you
my
guys wanna
point of
look at
view,
this
the thing
tomorrow?
was working.
Yeah, we can.
And nobody ever has asked to come into the building or look or check or make sure, it just,
Yeah.
and all these ones you've cited, those are ones I've never seen. I don't know who signed for them or where they went, but
I'm assuming they get sent to the same as the billing address, right?
Typically, yeah,
Yeah.
because it
and that
goes to
didn't
that
happen.
property.
See, they sent it over to 806 North Court
Yeah.
to my ex-wife's house, and that's where this last certified one came. I mean, I bought that house in the summer of 2022, so the water there has been in my name
Right.
since
Yeah.
then. But I don't know. We need to look at
That's fair.
the
And we're
file.
happy to do
And
that.
let me say this too. When I came in the next day, I asked to see the file, and they said that Mr. Redinger had the file with him. And so I've never had the opportunity to sit down and look through the file.
Okay, well, we'll be happy to share that with you. And then,
Okay.
and throughout this time frame, that there's been staff turnovers and whatever. And
That's
then
it. I've noticed that.
And
yeah.
then so what ends up happening is they'll just take a dozen of these repairs that they need to make, and they just send them out to take care of them because they consistently have to upgrade and maintain that system. And we prefer that the property owners take care of it. And well, let's just leave it at that. But when they've got to do it, they've got to do it because it creates larger issues down the road.
Okay.
So, and we do everything that we can to reach out to the property owners.
Okay, so if you wouldn't mind coming in
Not a problem.
and maybe call first,
Yeah.
make sure that
Okay,
you're
yeah,
available.
I'd love to see it because I never
And
got
then-
any of those
then you can
letters that you were
report back at
mentioning.
next meeting if we
Not a
do
one
something.
of them. In fact, the 2020 one was the first one, the one in early February of 2020
Okay.
was the one and only one that I,
Very good.
got, and that's the one I brought in and got told, we sent that to you by mistake, disregard it.
Okay.
Okay,
Very
so
good. Thank you.
we'll hear more next
Okay.
meeting.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
So we're going to move on to resolution, action items, and ordinances. The first action item is consideration of engineering services agreement for Sunrise Trail Development with French-Reneker and Associates.
Good evening. The engineering agreement you guys have in front of you is for the Sunrise Trail subdivision, which this is a proposed subdivision located on the south side of town there, west of Jefferson County Hospital. The agreement is for phase one. The proposed phase one is for 33 lots. The agreement is for the design for kind of a preliminary design of the whole site, so we have an idea of amount of dirt work there. Then a design for water main, sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and then approximately 2,100 linear feet of paving. Kind of the schedule on this is if this agreement is approved tonight, would be to move forward with design and have the goal to have a bidding here. Would be early spring, kind of the March would be kind of the goal to have the letting be, and then can start construction next summer of 2025.
Does that include sidewalks?
Typically that is kind of hasn't been ironed out yet. There's a lot of hoops that we need to jump through. It kind of depends how the PUD is written, if that the sidewalks are going to be included in this project or it's going to be required when the houses are built. Just kind of depending on, that's kind of what kind of some hoops we need to kind of iron out.
So there'll be an additional document for the PUD that will outline all of that information.
I think that's kind of things we're kind of working through right now.
Maybe you could tell the public what you mean by PUD.
Marcus, I can help. Sorry. PETA's going to do all of the subdivision aspects of this. French-Reneker, the land surveyors at French-Reneker is still they're going to prepare the subdivision and the legal descriptions and then the easements and all of those documents, so they'll work closely with it, but PETA will be presenting those separately. So a PUD is a planned unit development. It allows for an area to be developed outside of the limitations of our code, and most often used in a subdivision situation where you have the lots all of similar sizes and the setbacks are all similar, but maybe doesn't meet the code exactly the way our code is written. And in this case, I think we're going generally 60 by 120. So a little, it still meets our minimum square footage, but it is a little narrower, or sorry, not as deep. And so maybe some of the setbacks are going to be a little bit different than what we have in our other parts of town. So the PUD would outline all of those. And so I would expect that FIDA and any developers that they're working with or contractors would get together and present a plan for that separately when the subdivision part of this all goes through.
Do we have any ballpark of the cost of this phase?
Yes.
You know, kind of a range,
Yep.
so the council knows?
We did a preliminary cost estimate. The estimate's around 1.6 million for construction costs, and our total cost for all the engineering and surveying for the project is about $1.85 million.
And that's phase one.
That's phase one,
Right.
yes, and that's the
Yep.
blue. I don't know if you guys got the sketch. It's the blue shaded area on the attached sketch.
So your engineering service is more expensive than the construction?
No, the engineering. That was the.
Isn't that what I just heard?
No, that was total. So the engineering for this agreement is 110,000.
Okay.
No,
that was really confusing to me.
No,
Thank you for clarifying that.
I combined those two numbers.
Yeah, gotcha.
So, yep.
That would be a bit surprising.
I was like, no, that does not
The
compute.
schedule's really fast, Connie, so.
I was like, I'm missing something here.
No, I apologize for the confusion.
Does the construction include the access road in from the daycare?
It's extending it. So there'll be, the idea is to.
Widening it or not?
Not at
You're
first.
gonna change the radiuses,
Changing
right?
the radius. Yeah, the plan is the road I think is wide enough, but the entrance there.
Yep.
Needs to be off Libertyville Road. Something needs to happen there. So there's plan to widen the entrance.
A roundabout?
What?
A roundabout?
No, just wider radiuses to allow. I've turned into that driveway before. It's very tight, so it'd be an idea to make that a little bit more easy to turn into.
Okay.
Yep.
And these streets will be curbed?
Curved, yep.
sides?
It's planned to be curved, kind of just 27 foot wide, typical, kind of standard throughout town here. Yep.
So I'd make a motion to approve this engineering services agreement for the Sunrise Trail
Okay.
development.
Second.
Okay, moved by Flournoy, second by Two Hill. Any discussion?
Quick question:
Questions?
is there a plan for sidewalks?
Yes, there's a plan for sidewalk. It's just not ironed out how that's going to happen. If it'll be with the construction of the subdivision itself, or typically sometimes when you do the subdivisions, they build the houses, the sidewalk when you build the house. It's just that's something that's not 100% been ironed out yet.
But
The plan is to have sidewalk when the project is completed. Yes.
thank you.
Ed Malloy mentioned that as well at our work
Right.
session, that they felt that there would be sidewalks.
Good.
Especially with potential kids walking to the daycare center or,
Good idea.
you know, that kind of situation, so, yeah.
Thank you.
So any other questions? If not, please call a roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Two Hill,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Great, thank you. That was approved unanimously to approve that engineering services agreement for Sunrise Trail. Next action item is consideration of broker's professional opinion of city property. This does have to do with the Logan lots. Current value of $25,000, so that's what you're approving.
Just one, or is it all three?
All three, I believe, right?
That's all three. I'm sorry.
Yeah, all three.
When they write this, I know they have the parcel number in there, but could they put the street address in there as well?
They could have. They just didn't. I can ask them to do that.
Oh,
next
they
time.
do. Well, yeah, they have a parcel, yeah.
I'd make a motion that we accept and approve the BPO.
Second.
Moved by Flournoy, second by Esty. Any other questions? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Two Hill.
Yes.
Great, that was approved unanimously to approve that valuation, and we look forward to further action on that coming soon, hopefully. Okay, next action item, consideration of engagement letter with Ahlers and Cooney, PC for Sunrise Trail Residential Subdivision Urban Renewal Plan. Melanie, are you going to say anything about this?
This is the PUD.
I can talk on that.
Okay.
So
Please.
this is, when we start the TIF district, you start with a lot of things, and it's starting with an urban renewal plan, an urban renewal area. So this is hiring Ahlers to do all that documentation for us and walk us through the
So this
process.
is not the PUD.
No, this would be for
PUD
the.
comes later.
It's coming, but yes.
So they would prepare the urban renewal plan, prepare letters of instruction, notice of meetings,
Yes.
partial agendas for city council, resolutions, public hearings, ordinance.
All right, I make the motion that we approve the engagement letter with Ahlers and Cooney for the Sunrise Trail Residential Subdivision Urban Renewal Plan.
Okay, moved by Flournoy,
Second.
second by Toohill. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
Great, thank you. That was approved unanimously to approve the engagement letter with Ahlers and Cooney. Next resolution has two parts. I want to take this in two votes, actually. Consideration of setting dates of consultation meeting Tuesday, November 19th, 2024 at 10 a.m. and setting a public hearing on urban renewal plan Monday, December 16th, 2024 at 7 p.m. So if we could just take that first portion, setting of the dates of the consultation meeting.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Gandy,
Second.
second by Flournoy. Any other questions? Not, please call the roll.
Gandy,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Thank you. And then setting the public hearing for Monday, December 16th at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Gandy, second by Flournoy. Any other questions? Please call the roll.
Gandy,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Next resolution is a consideration of fixing the date for public hearing on the proposal to enter into a development agreement with Vastu Partners, LLC, and providing publications of notice thereof. Looks like we'll be going over that on Monday, December 16th, 2024.
I make the motion to set the public hearing for December 16th, 2024.
Okay, now timeout. Oh, okay. That's all right. Just a little confused in my brain. Okay, so we have a motion by Flournoy and a second by Gandy. Any other questions? No, please call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Esti.
Yes.
Great, that approved unanimously. So again, we'll have a public hearing on December 16th about that development agreement. The next is a public hearing on the matter of rezoning of Lincoln School area from R2 general residence districts to a mixed-use district. I'm going to open the public hearing, and you know, we've heard a lot of comment over the last two meetings. So what I'm really looking for is new comments, any new information that you may have. So I'm going to open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and we will move on to Ordinance 1255. This is the third and final reading of the consideration of the rezoning of Lincoln School area from R2 general residence to a mixed-use district. Is there a motion to move this to the third and final reading?
I'd like to ask a question about it. As I was thinking about Doug discussing the Board of Adjustments and so on at the last meeting. And in my mind, the sort of most reasonable way to move forward with this project is I'd love to see the neighbors in that area come up with some understanding that the neighborhood will have to change and that building needs to be occupied by someone, some reasonable requests of things they would like to see as limitations put on the building, and the Hoffmans accept them in a sign of good faith, and that brought to the Board of Adjustments. And I was wondering if that would be best handled at the Board of Adjustments, or if that would be something the City Council could or should facilitate.
I think at this point we don't anticipate it going to Board of Adjustment. Melanie, do you have
I was under the
anything to add?
Zoning would send it there. But, I mean, I'm somewhat new to City Council, so I don't know exactly how the process works. But,
I will try to add.
I was going to say, Rebecca and I talked about this a little bit too, so Rebecca, if you want to chime in on anything, go right ahead.
Rebecca could try. So, based off of the proposed uses that the Huffmans have given the Planning and Zoning Office, with the office space and the Christmas event and the Easter event, and a discussion of a steakhouse, the Planning Office gave them, considered them a permitted use in the mixed use zone. And with that...
Well, just a minute, can you tell us, there's a list of permitted uses. Which one did they assign to this particular building?
So the memo that I wrote for the file, so office buildings and sit-down restaurants are considered permitted uses. The meeting centers, taverns, and furniture production, so I listed that in there because that is Huffman Cabinetry's business, are considered conditional uses. Because our city code does not have a definition of a meeting center, and then I proceeded to look through several other city codes, and I found one city in Iowa that has a definition of a convention center, but several other city codes and the state code did not have a definition of a meeting center. I don't know who wrote that mixed use zone code, but it was neat. So I went through, there is some 17 factors that Iowa City uses, as well as Iowa State University recommends for determining whether something meets a zone or not. And that is how I determined that, given just the two events, the Christmas and Easter event, that they wouldn't meet, that they fall within the definition of the mixed use zone. So I didn't define them as a meeting center. I just said that they meet the intent of the mixed use zone. In this, which I sent to the Huffmans on Friday, I outlined things that I felt would push them into more of a higher use, more of a permitted use, or more of a conditional use that they should seek Board of Adjustment approval, including things such as renting the space out to other individuals, events that exceed more than 30 days per year, markets or trade shows that have multiple vendors showing up. So things that start to become more than the Christmas and Easter events that they're currently telling us about. And so that is the recommendation that the planning office has, or that is the, not recommendation, what's the word I'm looking for, Becca? Decision that the planning office has made. So to Matthew's point, by code, the planning administrator has the authority to make that decision. Any citizen, and we're actually reaching out to Ahlers on this process, is that any person can appeal that decision. And so we're reaching out to get clarification on that.
Who do they appeal to?
That's what we're getting clarification on, is whether it's to council, to Board of Adjustment, to And is it one person? Is it multiple people?
And they just write a letter, or is there a form?
That's what we're reaching out to Ahlers on. I mean, because it says clearly in the state code, it's chapter 414 of the Iowa Code says that the Board of Adjustment hears appeals of planning and zoning staff.
Is there a time frame in which they have to make the appeal?
I don't believe so. It's because you have 30 days from when a Board of Adjustment makes a decision to file an appeal, but went from an administrative decision, I did not see anything in the state code. So, but Ahlers, we have a call with Ahlers this week, so we expect an answer.
Yeah,
shortly.
you can clarify that.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think it would be good, to your point, I think it would be good and neighborly for the Huffmans as owners and a neighborhood meeting maybe to make sure that they can get some agreements in place and feel good about it. I think that would be useful if everyone's open to that.
Oh, and the other thing I was going to say is I also sent over to the Huffmans a work within right-of-way permit recommended that they follow the street closures that Joe Hurd and I discussed in the site assessment that I presented at the last council meeting. To close a street, you need staff approval or council approval. And so I sent that to her as well and recommended that, you know, she get that taken care of before the Christmas event. So, I mean, I sent it to her on Friday, so I don't have it back, but I recommended that as well.
So that would be closing the
Merrill
street west.
Yep, closing Merrill from the alley to the west. So basically closing the seal coat portions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And that is something I was going to say that I could bring, but I think that you might do you have what is the first weekend?
29.
Okay, so there would be a council meeting if we wanted to bring that application here, but we do we approve street closures outside of the square on a regular basis. We do, on our application, it says that you're required to contact, you know, the law enforcement when you close a street, or the dispatch when you close a street, so.
Okay, great.
So.
Thank you. Do you have questions?
Yeah,
more,
when you get
Melanie?
clarification on this appeal process,
Yeah.
if the public wants to find out what you've discovered, where would they go?
They can contact Dawn. They can contact me, but Dawn's way better at responding to things. She keeps me in line. But we do have a citizen request in for this answer, and so we'll get back to them with that. But they can contact the Planning and Zoning Department, Dawn at the Planning and Zoning Department. So
just to understand, Molly, when is such an appeal made? When in this process? Before or after what?
So my my decision on the permitted use is not official really until the zoning is finalized. So it would be basically any moment after the zoning is finalized.
In publication.
That they can emit what?
In publication.
In publication. The generally, so zoning applications, or permits, I should say, are public records. We would request that anyone fill out a public records request to receive a copy of this document, because it is part of, public records. It's not like a memo to the council or anything. It's part of the zoning file, but we would present that to anyone who submitted that request. And then again, they can reach out to Dawn at the Planning and Zoning Office for that information.
Okay. Any more questions for Melanie? Council, it looks to me like Patricia Bullen wants to speak. I've already closed the public hearing, so I'm going to ask the council if it's okay that she come to the microphone. Is that okay?
No objection. Yes.
No? Okay? Okay. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you, council.
Just based on those comments, I think we wanted to have Orchard Place, West Merrill, and West Carpenter closed off, because the alleyways from West Carpenter to through to Merrill are how we access our carports or garages. And people see an alley, oh, there's no cars in that's only an alley, let's park there. So I hope that will be considered as part of the request, Melanie. You left out Orchard Place. I didn't know about Carpenter. West Carpenter, I mean.
Yeah, what else do we have? Yeah, we can chat afterwards to get there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think Orchard Place was part of it, was what I recall.
Yeah, I think from last meeting, but it wasn't
Yeah.
mentioned tonight. That's all.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
also, just, I got a copy of the proposal for purchase from the school. Have any of your intentions changed from this proposal that you made for purchase? Asking Mr. and Mrs. Huffman. There is, the facility will be a cornerstone of community life for Fairfield residents, offering a multitude of amenities and opportunities for engagement, from conference and meeting rooms to private gatherings, graduation and birthday parties, cultural food festivals. Possibilities are truly endless. Is there any major change there?
It's all a work in
that's
progress.
still,
It's a work in progress, we don't know yet.
Yeah.
You don't actually know.
We got by ear, I mean, we don't know.
Right.
How it's gonna go.
And also, I brought it up at last meeting, but didn't ask Mr. and Mrs. Huffman directly. Do you have permission to use the intellectual property rights from?
So that's. Yeah, so you need.
You're going to speak to us.
Yeah.
I beg your
Right,
Please.
and so that topic is really not for the council. If you want to speak to them afterwards, you can do that, but that's not being considered here.
Infringement of intellectual property rights is a federal crime, and
Yeah, but
City
we're not-
Council would be complicit in that if it keeps advertising those names.
Well, I
those
don't,
restricted names.
that's your opinion, and I don't think we have a legal stand on that, so,
Yeah, well,
and
I
again,
can only bring it to attention.
can appreciate the question, but I would ask that you ask the Huffmans afterwards, so.
Okay, I think you should pursue that question from your side too, because you're advertising those names that are intellectual property, those Harry Potter and everything to do with Seuss, and covered by Seuss Enterprises.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I say something real quick too? I'm a neighbor too. I just want to voice my support, and I'm really happy to see you guys there and improving that neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that.
A second.
So, council, any more discussion? If seeing none, I'm sorry,
I
go
was going
ahead.
to say, if I misunderstood, I thought you were asking this to be moved to third reading, and I understand this to be the third reading.
Yes, this is the third and final
Okay,
reading.
so-
Did I say that
okay,
wrong?
Maybe I took it wrong. But
Okay, so I apologize if I
just wanna
said
be
it. This
clear.
is the third and final reading.
Okay, thank you.
So ordinance 1255 to rezone the Lincoln School area from R2 general residence to mixed use district. Is there a motion to move this to the third and final reading?
This is the third.
This is the third and final reading.
Yes,
Yes.
but move to the final reading, yes, to adopt the ordinance.
Yes.
Move this through the third and final
Move
reading.
it through
I
the third and
move
final
to
reading.
adopt ordinance number 1225, rezoning the Lincoln School area from R2 to general residence to MU mixed use
Yeah,
district.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved by SD, second by Flournoy. Sorry for my confusion if I wasn't
My
saying it
confusion.
exactly right. Made it confusing. Any more discussion?
Yes, Mayor. I think for me, this has been a difficult decision, and it's still a decision in the making, but I certainly appreciate neighbors and the Huffmans to certainly appreciate the presenting to the council and to the community what their vision is, what their concerns are. I think we've covered it pretty thoroughly in council and before the public. I think our legal options as a council are constrained. Mr. Rowe brought up as a council person that if the ordinance passes, there still is redress for those who have concern in the form of an appeal if the Huffmans go beyond what the scope of our understanding is in terms of using the property. But at this point right now, I'm conflicted, but at this point I think I'm in favor of economic development. I think it could be a very good thing for the community. It will change the character of the neighborhood, I do think, maybe substantially, but it will change it, and it could be for the good. I'm hopeful and optimistic the Huffmans will be good stewards of the property, and it will turn out to be a good thing for the neighborhood, and hopefully be much ado about nothing here. We don't know for sure, but I'm going to vote tonight. I'm going to vote to move this to the third reading, And again, understanding that the neighbors there have redress if they feel the need to go forward and appeal.
Okay, so if there are no other comments, please call the roll.
Esti,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
So under the mayor's report, I'm sorry this did not get posted. We do have a public art commission or art committee, and it's not been very active. And what I've discovered, I think particularly through the last 2 and 3 years when we've had opportunities to apply for grants for various things, when we wanted to upgrade something, we just really didn't have a good plan in place, particularly for our downtown area, to add some artistic flair, if you will, to some of the things that we would like to see done. But that takes a whole community effort to create that plan. So what I'd like to do tonight is to expand the art committee with members of different organizations, and their charge would be to develop a master arts and culture plan, periodically review that plan, and make sure that it's updated. So this is still an ad hoc committee. So the members would include someone from the Beautification Commission. Emily Scopin is the name that was brought to me. The Fairfield Art Association would be Susan Kessel. Cultural Alliance would be Jasmine Bodie. Convention and Visitors Bureau, Terry Baker. Chamber representative would be Tommy Brower. He also works at the Fairfield Arts and Convention Center. The Main Street Committee, yes, we don't have a Main Street yet, but we're hopeful that we eventually will have in the next year or two. But in the meantime, there is a committee working on this, and Tyler Malone, who also owns Iowa Dance Collective, would be that representative. Historical Preservation would be Dick Reed, and the Art Walk would be Marla Brader, their director. So again, this is moving it from 4 to 8 people, and really designating a representative from each of these organizations that we already have. So if one of those people that I've just mentioned decide to go off, then that organization could suggest someone new. Okay, so it could be ongoing. Okay. Again, their charge would be to develop a master arts and culture plan and periodically review it and update that plan. A few months back, just so you know, I had a call with somebody from Iowa Development Economic Authority. We also talked with the city of Dubuque about their arts and culture plan. There's several plans out there. So we have examples of several plans that this committee can work on and work off of, but I'm hoping that the city of Dubuque will help mentor this group and while they create their plan. And then they can present that to city council. And when they get it done, it's going to take a little bit for them to do that, but we're getting more public art, and we want to have a cohesive plan, particularly when we're applying for any grants, and we kind of have a plan for future in particularly in our downtown, but there definitely could be other places where we might want public art. I'm just going to say I personally want to see a statue of Matt Stutzman. I think that would be really nice. I'm just throwing it out in the air, just because he's made Fairfield so proud with his gold and silver medals. So, with your approval, I would like to have a motion to approve that art commission, public art commission.
Motion to approve.
Moved by Toohill. Second by Ham. In the discussion? Please call the roll.
Toohill?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Rowe?
Yes.
Esti?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I guess it won't be a city attorney report since we don't have a city attorney here tonight. Committee and board reports. Property committee?
Yes, property committee met on November 1st to consider some requests for sign variances. And we have a few recommendations from this meeting. These all are concerning the former armory building on the corner of B and Briggs. It's the southeast corner.
Broadway?
So the first,
It's Broadway, right? B and Broadway? It's on
Broadway, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The first request was for a marquee sign on the east side of the building, and the variance is for, number of signs, there'll be a total number of 6 signs on the building on the east and north sides, potentially. We'll get to the details of that later, but originally it was going to be 6 signs, and this would be on the east side of one of the doorways, and the other variance would be on the size or square footage of the sign. And the committee is recommending to council that we approve that variance request for the marquee on 122 East Broadway building. That's a motion.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the sign variance for that sign for Blue Rose.
And I'm assuming this is the schematics and stuff that we were showing.
Yeah.
They all match up to that. And
Right.
So.
And also I'll speak to the other point in a moment, but yes, that's correct. That's correct. Or I can speak to it now.
No, when we get to it, this is next meeting.
Okay.
Okay. So that's been moved and seconded to approve that sign. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Esti.
Yes.
We handled these separately because they were submitted as separate requests, so. The second request is for a blade sign on the corner of that building, on the corner of B and Broadway, advertising the bistro. And we also are recommending to the council that that variance be allowed. And the variance there is number of signs. So I'll make that a motion to approve.
So say that motion one more time.
The motion is to approve the blade sign on the corner of that building,
Okay.
on the corner of Broadway and B Street.
Okay.
What's a blade sign?
It
Sticks out.
It sticks
Okay.
out right on the corner.
Got it.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Second by Gandy. Any?
Whatever.
Oh, it was Rowe?
Yes.
Boy, you guys sounded alike tonight.
People get them confused all the time.
Oh, yeah, he's got more of a beard than I do.
Yeah, right. Sorry about that. Any other discussion about that? Please call the roll.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
Esti.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Okay, planning and.
Well, no, not done yet.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So there's some controversy over the third request, awnings, and we had a special meeting scheduled to go to an on-site visit. And Paul Gandy was the only person to attend that
Right.
on-site visit.
I was
So
concerned.
tell them what you found.
Matthew and Stephen, unfortunately I can't give you their last names, but they're very closely involved with the project, the former armory, which is going to be the Blue Rose Ballroom, Blue Rose Bistro, and so forth. I was concerned about the number of signs on the north side being maybe too much of a clutter if you had 4 signs that all said Blue Rose. So I met with them last Monday, November 4th, at the building. I wanted to see what the signs would actually look like, or envision what the signs would look like, where they were going to place them. They were kind enough to provide an actual rendering of the building with the signs as you would see them on the building, so I could very easily see how it would look. We agreed that probably it doesn't make sense at this point to have Blue Rose 4 different times on the north side. There are 4 places for signs. Maybe 2 signs is sufficient. People will get the idea, okay, this is the Blue Rose. But we're recommending to approve, give them the flexibility to put the Blue Rose name on each of the 4 signs, even the awnings, which are doors to the building. I think, my impression of it, it's going to be I think it's going to be extraordinary building. There's no expense being spared, I can tell you, from what we were seeing or being told and what it looks like on the inside and on the outside. So when it's finally ready, which we're hoping is going to be next year, it's going to be a jewel for the city. And I'm very grateful that they were allowing us to see what they're going to do and ask for the city's permission, going through the proper channels to get permission to have these signs in place, which they're going to have sometime next year, we're hopeful. So we support the idea of them having the variance being approved and giving them the flexibility to put those signs as they have asked to do.
And again, the variance here is only for number of signs,
Right.
not size. But tell them about the lettering.
The lettering,
Well,
what about it?
It's optional?
it's optional.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So the signs, what makes it a sign is lettering. If there's no lettering on what is an awning, there's no sign. It doesn't come within the orbit of the ordinance itself. So when you look at their rendering, it looks better, and they agree, without the lettering on the sign, these particular awnings. But we believe it makes sense to give them the flexibility if they choose to add lettering to those particular awnings. I don't think they will. They don't think they will. But our recommendation to council is that we give them that flexibility. It's going to look better without them, we think, but it may change as they continue their design process.
And they're pretty minimal, the awnings themselves.
Yes.
You know, and the renderings, it's not like they're sticking out extremely from the building, you know, it's just like pretty minimal footprint.
Yes.
So,
They
which
come
we
out
saw
two
with the
feet.
renderings
Yes.
and not at the
Yes.
site visit, but
Yes.
that's fine.
Yes. Well, the site visit, I was at the site with the renderings.
Oh, yeah.
So seeing the site and the renderings made it much easier for me to envision what the signs would actually look like at size, at scale.
Are the awnings blue?
They're
Yeah.
blue and gold. Blue and gold.
Okay. So the recommendation from the council is to allow the owners to put up signage on these awnings, although they said they wouldn't, but we approved it as a sign.
Okay.
So the recommendation is to make that approval to council. A
Okay.
recommendation to council, so
I'm
make that
still
recommendation.
questioning here. So they're awnings over doorways?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And they're optional to have lettering right now.
Okay.
So make the motion to approve that variance.
Okay. So moved by Doug to
Second.
approve the variance of the awnings with potential
Aside
signage.
from that, it would be in the number of signs, but there's no lettering, so they're not signs, but we're going to approve them as if they are signs.
Okay. And Two Hill
Second.
seconded. Any other questions? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
Thank you.
So this is how, 100 years from now, someone will buy that building and decide they can put awnings up with lettering on it, and everybody will wonder, why can you do that? Because today we approved that option to them.
And you'll be the only one still on council.
Okay, Planning and Zoning Commission. Melanie, was there anything that you wanted to point out of these minutes? Okay, just we have them. Okay, let's move on to the city administrator report.
I'm gonna ask a little bit of help
I think it was published at 12
from
o'clock.
Matthew.
Convenient.
The IT committee has selected an IT services. We looked at 4 separate companies, and the IT committee has chosen Access,
So the second-
the company that we already already had, and Matthew can maybe help.
Yeah, well, I don't know how much detail we want to go into, but broadly speaking, if you took the contract we had with them at the beginning of the year and compared that to the various bids that came in, it would have maybe not been the worst, but it would have been a very bad one. But if you look at the new contract that they offered, it was by far, well, it was definitely the most competitive. And so they put a lot of work in to adjust the relationship they're going to have with the city and further meet our needs. We're definitely, it seems like it's going to be a good change.
But it's a change, but it's the same. I mean, it's the same provider, right? Yeah.
Same provider, but it's going to be a change in the quality of service, and they're also lowering the price, and so it's it'll be much better. And you know, I don't interact with the IT stuff personally much because you know, city council is only very part time. But Shelby from the front desk was there. She deals with them all the time. And so she was walking through the process with us, and a lot of, I think it's going to be quite good.
I think the important thing is that the committee really did their homework well, and thank you for taking the time. They really reviewed a contract that had been kind of just been renewing, and I certainly felt like maybe there was some room for improvement, and so we, they did that work, and we found it, and we went to some other vendors and bid it out. So it's better for the city overall. Mm-hmm. So.
How long was the previous contract? How long do we have in place? Years and years?
Several years, more than 5, I believe. Mm-hmm. Right?
6.
Yeah. And I just know that since I've been here, there's been, a few challenges with service. Things weren't getting done in a timely manner. And so anyway, I think there's a better understanding.
Yeah.
And expectations. And
the quality of service should improve.
Yeah. It's all great. Better understanding.
Uh-huh.
So
to thank you, Councilman Rowe, but to carry on, Weston has been working on 203 North 9th. This is one of those properties that we've been working with, that the house needed to be torn down, and the city was getting involved, but now the property owner is getting torn down. It is on the ground. It's not completely finished, but it does when it's being done privately. Sometimes it takes some time, and we have to work with them to make sure that project gets moving forward, but it will definitely benefit that area. We have been discussing the codification, and I have reached out to Simmer and Corey. They did finally email me back, and it's that time of year. I want to say, happy holidays. The city's shifting gears into setting up decorations, and people are starting to plan vacations, and so there's going to be some delays in some of these communications this time of year, because we're getting ready to start talking about budget season. And lastly, with the, as in tradition with the city, is we close on November 27th, the day before Thanksgiving, at 12 p.m. if the council is still okay with that, but that's been the tradition for years and years and years. But I'd like to bring it up at council so that families that get ready to travel for the holidays can do so without hurrying to do it. They might be traveling out of state, or they might have family members coming in, but that's usually tradition.
Okay.
That's all I have. I just have a question.
Demolish from the court, and so the recommendation of the council is to let bids for that demolition.
So the owner is not taking care of that.
Well, we anticipate that the owner may take care of it. If we take this step, we anticipate it'll put pressure on the owner to take steps to remediate it. But if they don't, then we are in a position to remediate it ourselves.
Okay.
So it's hopeful that we won't have to do it.
Okay.
So that's my motion, is to let bids for the demolition of 405 South D Street.
Okay. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Second by Gandy. So yes, please come up and we'll take discussion. That was you, Paul, right?
Yes.
Because I wasn't looking exactly at you.
Yes, me, yeah.
The first thing we'll have to do is take quotes for doing asbestos testing. That will start off the whole process. So it won't go directly to a demolition contractor necessarily first, if that's okay with council.
That's not part of the demolition process?
Well, I would consider that part of the demolition process, but that will be the first thing that we do, is we will take quotes for the asbestos testing, and then I'll come back to you and make sure that that's okay to move forward with that step. And then there'll be a step of the abatement contractor and then the demolition contractor. So there's several steps along the way for the homeowner to step up and do something with the property also.
Okay. So providing they say yes, move forward, you can just report and let us know how things are going. Okay, great. Any other discussion on that? Not, please call the roll.
Florna?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Rowe?
Yes.
Esti?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Thank you. That was approved unanimously. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Toohill, second by Flournoy. And before I actually adjourn, I just want to say to the public, thank you for participating. You know, it's been a little bit of a challenge. And we look forward to some good neighborliness. Okay, meeting adjourned.
There you go. Good list.